Hello. Today I'm going to do a contextual analysis and interpretation of London. London is a poem written by William Blake, published in 1794, and it's a retelling of his walk through London in 1794 during this early booming stage of industrialization. And the poem describes how the people of London, or how William Blake at least interprets how the people of London feel about this industrialized society that they aren't used to at this point. And it's written during the Romantic period, which is also reflected in the disdain or the negative feelings that are portrayed in this poem about industrialization, which is characteristic of the Romantic period. Yeah, so now I'm going to go through the poem line by line and describe what's happening and how we can interpret that. So it starts off with I wander through each charted street, near where the charted Thames does flow, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. So he first off starts off by setting or showing us where the setting is, describing the setting, which is in the streets of London near the River Thames, which is obviously a famous landmark in London. So there's not really any doubt about where this poem can take place. Also, it's called London, so yeah. And he says that he notices in every person he meets that he sees signs of a weakness and signs of woe, which basically means distress or yeah, this is a sad sadness, sorrow maybe in the people he meets. He doesn't see happy faces across the streets of London. And then he moves on to say, in every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every band, the mind-forged manacles are here. So he not only feels or sees the sorrow, but he also hears the cry of men and infants, and yeah, and this pain that is like a blanket over the whole city. And he says in every voice and every ban, this is describing the bans that the city of London put over the people at this time, the restrictions and the government, how much the government reached into people's private lives, and how people did not like that at the time, and it only helped to restrict the already what already felt like a very restricted life in London at that time. And also, what we can notice is that William Blake uses an ABAB rhyme scheme here, where every four line or every second line is a rhymes with each other. Like one rhymes with line one street and line three meet, and the effect of this is to basically distinguish between the smallest sections within the poem. Like we see the first four lines, it describes what he sees during his time, during his walk through London. His first, what he notices. Then the next four lines describes what he hears. The first four lines describes what he sees during the streets of London, and then the next four lines describe what he hears, which is the voices and cries. And the first one is faces that he sees. And the next four lines are how the chimney sweepers cry, every black, how the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalls, and the hapless soldier's sigh runs in the blood down palace walls. So here he describes that he hears these chimney sweepers cry, which in that time in London it was children sent up to be chimney sweepers. And he describes that the church appalls these the cries of these chimney sweepers. Maybe it's a church feeling shame or not living up to this holy or holy message that they're trying to portray. How can they be holy in a city where kids are crying because they're forced into chimneys because they are the only ones that can fit in them? Or yeah, and then he says the hapless soldier's sigh runs in the blood down palace walls. And so while all this is going on in the city of London, also the young men who may be made out of the city, they have been sent out by the government or by the It was not. It was sent out by England to fight in their wars for them, or to colonize other cities, and to colonize other countries far away. And he can just imagine their blood running down, maybe even. And I don't think William Blake sees a reason for this blood to be spilled at all. But and the last four lines he goes through are, but most through midnight streets I hear how youthful harlots curse, blast a newborn infant's tear, and blights with plagues the merry church hearse. He says the things that he hears the most, or the most prevalent thing he sees or notices during these walks through the streets, is the young prostitutes who swear and feel or swear at each other or swear at their situation, and that and he feels and he describes how that they maybe have newborn infants or children maybe forced upon them by their job, and how these infants are growing up with their mother working as prostitutes, and it's not a good environment to grow up in. I don't think William Blake would ever describe it as that. As that, yeah. And if we were to look at this and perspective, what do you call it, perspectivize? Yeah. If you were to draw parallels to another text, I think we could look at another text by William Blake himself, written five or published 5 years before that, which is The Echoing Green. And The Echoing Green is a poem which describes the same, or it's almost written in the same period, but it describes the circle of life and how it's a comfort that everything will just end. You'll just end up being a happy old man laughing at the people playing on the fields. And I don't feel like this is the same feeling that's portrayed in this poem at all, which is an interesting parallel because it's written just 5 years apart. But I think this is very reflective of William Blake himself's view on industrialization, because he writes this happy poem about life and how it's all going to be okay in the end. And he uses the location of an echoing green, a field filled with open space and plants and trees and kids playing on it. But this very negative poem about life, which is very depressing, is taking place in the city of London, with a lot of industrialized city of London, with a lot of people not being happy about life. Yeah.